some sort of drawdown beginning in 2011, but nothing serious. That this is, it's really a throwaway date. And I think Obama's content, at least for the moment, to just roll with that and hope for the best. Petraeus is supposed to sit down in December, and we've already been told in the papers that he's going to come in with signs of progress. So I think he's looking to buy more time for the war, and Obama's content to let him do that.
Well, so what's going to happen next July then?
That's a real good question. I think that there might be some sort of cursory withdrawal of a few troops, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see them replaced a couple months later. As we go forward from there, I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more troops sent over. There might be a play to try and bring in more NATO forces. I know they're going to try and put more Afghans into the field. That's supposed to be that's the point of all this. They're going to be standing up the Afghan forces, and there'll be more and more of them. The problem is that it's like a revolving door. Afghans come in, get trained, get a weapon, get clothes. They leave, they never come back. Or sometimes they just do this again and again to pick up a paycheck, a weapon, and some more, new clothing.
Yeah. Well, and there are also there have been these reports about the CIA creating these death squads, these kind of local tribal militias. Although I guess maybe it's a stretch to think that any of them would stay together and independent, after the occupation ends. But as long as everybody's making the Vietnam analogies or whatever, you look back to the Hmong tribesmen in Laos, right?
Right.
And, these guys still live kind of in exile up there and unable to, participate in local commerce or whatever. They're still living the CIA's secret war up there in those highlands. And I just wonder about the long-term consequences of creating all these separate militias around the country to, no matter who you are, as long as you'll fight with us against the Haqqanis or whatever, then you're cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is this is a persistent a part of U.S. warfare, and it has been for decades. You'd think that obviously the U.S. doesn't learn from its history, but you'd think that some of our allies would at least look at this history and say, look at those tribesmen in Laos who are they're still living in the hills. They're still waiting to get bailed out by the U.S. They want to emigrate because they're persona non grata in their own country. The U.S. has a tendency of abandoning its allies when they're they no longer serve a purpose, and the consequence for the countries where the U.S. leaves these groups is that they become power centers unto themselves. The whole idea of the enterprise in Afghanistan is to build up a strong central government, but then you're creating these private militias, and we know what that's done in Afghanistan before. You have a fracturing after the conflict with the Soviets, and then break off factions who are armed and fight for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess. To take a step back from this whole thing, why does the American empire, or those that run it, think that they need to occupy Afghanistan anyway? I mean, we have bases in every other state around there actually has a state pretty much, and we have bases in all of those countries, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. And so, okay, fine, you want to continue your Cold War with Russia, you want to have some bases to, I don't know, prevent China from moving westward or whatever for long-term strategy. But why Afghanistan? Who cares about Afghanistan, Nick?
Well, there's the million or billion or $trillion question. I guess it's going to be trillion when this war is all said and done. It's a good question. The garrison the world anyway. Why continue to bleed in Afghanistan? When that question's asked in Washington, the answer is always 9/11 was planned there, but 9/11 was also planned in Berlin and Florida, and while there are bases there, we're not fighting a war in Germany, and as far as I know, there's no bombing going on in Florida.
Yeah, well, and in fact, James Bamford reported that the 9/11 hijackers were making phone calls from the payphone at the grocery store there in Maryland where all the NSA people shop on the weekend. So maybe we should just bomb that grocery store on the weekend when it's full of NSA employees, since that's the doctrine upon which we bomb people. They happen to be nearby where something was planned a long time ago.
It's this is the illogic that it all stems from. The argument that we're trying to kill off Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. Even the CIA admits that there's maybe 100 Al Qaeda members still in Afghanistan. And that might be a generous estimate. But even if that's legit, 100 guerrillas tying down a force of 120,000. It's ludicrous. I mean.
Well, and as we know from reading that interview in Rolling Stone with Osama bin Laden's son, this was exactly, from his son's mouth, exactly. This was my father's dream, was to lure America into Afghanistan to be bled to death. He couldn't believe they didn't invade after the embassy bombings in '98, and he couldn't believe they didn't react after the USS Cole. But you know what? We'll show them. We'll hit them hard enough to bring them here and bleed their empire to death. That's what his son told Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
It was the whole program in the first place. So everybody says Al-Qaeda really works for the CIA. Maybe the CIA works for Al-Qaeda. Maybe Dick Cheney is Osama's agent instead of the other way around. What do you think?
Well, it's,
Sorry. I was just kidding. Anyway, we're out of time. Thanks very much for yours, Nick. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, Scott.